Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for coming here to listen to the ideas from the Economic Survey 2018-19. Let me first start by thanking my excellent team here, many of the advisors, all the advisors are seated here, and my other team who are seated over there, for their dedicated effort over the last several months to put this survey together. I'd also like to thank several others, including the consultants, the directors, and everybody from the team DEA for putting this survey together. Translators and the team from production, who literally burnt the midnight oil in trying to get this in the shape that you're seeing it now, also deserve our sincere gratitude. Last but not the least, the entire team would like to thank the Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Finance Minister, and the Honorable Minister of State for providing us this opportunity to share our ideas through the Economic Survey. So let me start by first describing the theme that underlies this Economic Survey, which is captured in the cover page of the survey. The blue color, the sky blue color, which is the color that is used for the survey, captures unfettered blue sky thinking, which is what we have indulged in trying to come up with the ideas for this Economic Survey. In an uncertain world in which we all work, there are three key elements that are critical for ensuring that policies really help in reaching the common person. First, a vision that has already been provided by the Honorable Prime Minister of a $5 trillion economy by 2024-25. To achieve that vision, a strategic blueprint is necessary. That's the second element. And this year's Economic Survey, therefore, makes a concerted effort to try and provide that strategic blueprint for achieving the vision laid down by the Honorable Prime Minister. Third key element are tactical tools that are necessary to calibrate into this strategic blueprint. So the survey, especially Volume 1, lays out the strategic blueprint and also talks about several of the tactical tools that are necessary to ensure that we calibrate continuously to achieving that vision. So the theme of the survey is captured by this vision, and that's why the central gear here is hashtag economy at 5 trillion. That's the vision that I just described, said by the Honorable Prime Minister. The survey talks about the blueprint for achieving this vision, and the key theme here is shifting gears through a virtuous cycle. As I'll just quickly describe, we have been growing at a good rate, but we now need to be shifting gears to grow at 8% continuously in a sustained manner. And that is what this strategic blueprint is about. This blueprint we intend to achieve by setting the economy on a virtuous cycle, with investment as the key driver of that virtuous cycle. The tactics that we're going to be focusing on, which several chapters in the Volume 1 of the survey describe, are behavioral economics. As I will quickly describe, this is a key departure from traditional economic thinking. We're talking about legal reforms that are required to ensure that the ease of contracts is enhanced. We're going to talk about data as a public good, how that can enhance the ease of living of people, and how MSMEs can be unshackled to create jobs and productivity in the economy. So that's what this cover captures with the theme being shifting gears. All these gears are being shown in unison because they go together, and that's the theme that is captured in the cover. As before, we've actually kept the structure of 2 volumes. The first volume lays out the strategic blueprint. It has 11 chapters in it, and with the key intent being the blueprint for achieving the hashtag economy at 5 trillion. The theme, as I just mentioned, is shifting gears through a virtuous cycle with investment as the key driver. The tactics are behavioral economics, nourishing MSMEs, data as public good, legal reforms, and policy consistency. Volume 2 has been, in the way in which it has been presented in earlier years, with the first chapter providing the overview of the state of the economy. It will provide a ready reckoner for the existing status and the policies that have been employed in major sectors, and is supported by relevant data and tables. There are a couple of important additions that we've made to the presentation of the economic survey. And in this, we've been inspired by Gandhiji's talisman. Gandhiji said that think about that weakest person and how your policy can make a difference to his or her life. Therefore, we've tried to present the survey in a manner that can actually be accessed by the common person. And therefore, apart from the abstract that every chapter carries, there is also a chapter at a glance that the readers can look at to ensure that they get the gist of the chapter. There are videos that have been created, short 2-minute videos, to ensure that these supplement the abstract and the chapter at a glance. Those videos capture the key idea behind each chapter. The videos are available both in English and in Hindi to ensure that a large section of people can access the ideas behind the economic survey. So let me just quickly start by describing what we've accomplished in the last 5 years. As we've spoken many times, India has been a bright spot in the world economy, growing at rates that is actually higher than all the other major economies in the world. Over the last 5 years, the key achievements have been in creating pathways for trickle-down. We've ensured that we've grown with macroeconomic stability, which is not only have we registered high growth rates, but we've done that with low inflation and also a fiscal deficit that has been following the glide path as laid down by the FRBM Act. We've invested in infrastructure through village electrification, through national highways, and through the UDAN scheme. Cooperative federalism has really been furthered over the last 5 years through the state share increasing to 42%, and the GST Council, which is a brilliant example of this cooperative federalism. And finally, I think what is an important departure from the past, the framework for corporate exits has been created through the IBC, the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Code. So these have been important structural reforms that have been enacted over the last 5 years. Therefore, the economy is now poised for takeoff, and that is what the first chapter in the survey is about, trying to provide that strategic blueprint for that takeoff that can happen. So the key departure that the survey makes is in thinking about the economy as being in either a virtuous cycle or a vicious cycle. Investment, as I just mentioned, is the key driver of that cycle. Savings that happen in the economy enable investment. Investment leads to improvements in productivity. And when firms become more productive, they're able to go and compete in the international markets, thereby foster exports, and which helps the economy. As I'm just going to show, productivity improvements also lead to job creation in the economy. And when exports and jobs come together, that creates purchasing power in the economy at the bottom of the pyramid, which then leads to increase in demand. Anticipating greater demand, firms go and invest further, and that is how this virtuous cycle perpetuates. So the intent really is that the economy, we are intending to shift gears by taking this economy into a virtuous cycle which is driven by investment. A favorable demographic phase, which we are currently in, supports this virtuous cycle because the proportion of working age that we're going to have in our population is really a big plus at this current stage. So this idea of viewing an economy in a virtuous cycle or a vicious cycle, we've arrived at this by carefully examining evidence from China and other East Asian economies that have registered high growth rates. In this chart, what is being shown here is the rate of savings as a ratio of GDP, the investment as a ratio of GDP, and the consumption as a ratio of GDP for China. Where I'm going to show you the charts for China, the other charts for the other East Asian economies are available in the chapter. So what I want you to take away here is take a look at that red line, which shows consumption. Consumption as a proportion of GDP secularly declined in China as savings and investment increased significantly since the 1980s, touching up to 50% of the GDP as investment. And that is a key point that I want you to take away, which is the investment as the key driver of this virtuous cycle. Another way of looking at the same thing is using development time as the determinant.